know that feeling when you finish a book and you suddenly realize you can never ever experience it for the first time ever again? Well, today is all about these books. And if there are any books on this list that you haven't read just yet, then I envy you, because you get to experience them for the first time. 8 books, all linked in the description, I'd give my soul for to read for the first time again. And first one up is Piranesi by Susanna Clarke. Piranesi was my number 1 of books read in 2023, and it is something special. You could say it's an urban fantasy, it's magical realism, it is a bit odd, and a lot of people don't ever finish it for that reason. Because for a long time in this book you'll not know what is actually going on. But once you do, once you figure it all out, once the plot twists and you get some reveals, then this book is a masterpiece. This book was my number 1 last year for a very good set of reasons. And if you haven't read it, why not go explore them for yourself? Piranesi by Susanna Clarke. Second on this list is As Long as the Lemon Trees Grow by Zoulfa Katouh. Said to be a YA, but it comes with a serious kick. And this is not an easy read. This is a story of Salma, a young girl who finds herself in the midst of the war in Syria. As all young girls do, she had hopes and dreams for the future, but now she finds herself working in a hospital as an ER nurse. And with each war casualty coming into the hospital, Salma herself suffers. She suffers for the ones she can save, and she suffers even more for the ones she can't. There's not much left of Salma's old life, except for Layla, her pregnant sister-in-law and very good friend. And Salma is traumatized. And all of her fears and anxieties and the horrors that she's seen has materialized into an hallucination, which is Katouh. And Katouh is the, say, dog angel on her shoulder, whispering that she has to leave Syria and leave everything behind and get herself to safety. Now who says YA can't be fun? I'll not tell you much more about the story because that would bring us into spoiler territory, but this book is such a heartfelt, emotional, heavy read that I absolutely loved. Yes, it is a YA, yes, it has some traces of a romance, but don't go in unprepared. Read your trigger warnings because this book slaps you in the face. While it was written during the war in Syria, this feels very current affairs. This is a book that everyone should read and experience the beauty and the horror that is As Long as the Lemon Trees Grow by Zoulfa Katouh. And then we have to talk about The Secret History by Donna Tartt. Now, The Secret History is a book that I reread every autumn. And honestly, I don't know what it is about this book particularly that makes me want to reread it every year. I don't reread Babel every year, I don't reread If We Were Villains, but The Secret History is something else. And it starts with that opening sentence. There is no mystery in this book. From the very beginning we know Bunny is dead and things are about to go wrong. But the characters in this book, the characters are so special. The characters in this book often remind me of The Great Gatsby. You have the narrator, which comes from a more modest background, who can be pardoned and forgiven for everything that is about to happen, and then you have his entourage. A group of characters that are entitled, rich, obnoxious. They are people you love to hate, but come to understand and even feel for by the end of the story. Or at least that is what I hope, because in my Dutch version, which is a version I was given when the book came out by a girl I was dating, it has this little dedication and it says this is not only a book you need to read but also need to own. Also, postscriptum, you do remind me of Henry. Now, having reread this book for many times after all these years, I still do not know if that was meant to be a compliment or an insult. Do let me know below in the comments if you have read the book. Being compared to Henry, is that a compliment? Or should I be worried? Another thing I love about The Secret History is the whole atmosphere and the language. And this is a book that is meant to be read on a rainy afternoon. There is this sort of grey and dreary ambience going on throughout the whole of the book that I absolutely love. One of my absolute favorites, The Secret History by Donna Tartt. And then we venture into classics territory with Orlando by Virginia Woolf. Now, Orlando is one of those very special novels that is dear to my heart. And in my opinion, the thing about Orlando is that this book wasn't written for an audience. Virginia Woolf wrote this book heavily inspired by her close friend and lover, Vita Sackville-West. It was inspired by Vita's family, by her whole family history, but it was also inspired by their relationship. So this book wasn't written for an audience to enjoy, this book was written especially for Vita. And that makes it something very special. And for that time period, this book still is one of the most unique, most creative and sometimes most trippiest books that were ever written. If you don't know, it is the story of Orlando, who is a nobleman at an Elizabethan court, and he just doesn't die. He lives throughout history, throughout time, changing himself, adapting to the ever-changing world. Trying to stay true to himself, he even swaps gender throughout the story. Cast off all labels and try to be whom you were meant to be. And this has made Orlando one of the probably most talked about books by Virginia Woolf. Some say it is a feminine book. Others say it is a critique on the emptiness of wealth. I've seen people say it heckles the superficialness of this world. Orlando is almost like a mirror, giving people something that they need from this book. It thus loses a bit steam towards the end. Virginia clearly wasn't in the same mindset as when she started to write this book, but still this book is very, very special. It can get trippy at times, but it is still one of the most accessible books by Virginia Woolf, especially if you're new to her work, so do check this one out. Orlando, a biography by Virginia Woolf, an absolute gem. And since we're talking about classics, let's talk Giovanni's Room by James Baldwin. This book is emotionally devastating. It blew my mind when I first read it. It is a story of an American expat in France, in Paris, who is torn between his own sexual identity and what the world expects from him. They expect him to come home, marry his fiancée, settle down, have a family, suburbia. He denies his own sexual frustrations, causing him to lash out left and right and hurt the people around him. Not out of spite or anger, but out of fear and desperation. And when he finally meets someone, this fear and desperation becomes the seed of total catastrophe. This book will devastate you, but it is not the only reason why you should read it. James Baldwin's writing is close to perfection. On the one hand, he manages to beautifully describe everything that is going on and the surroundings and the settings of this story. But on the other side, he manages to catch everyone's anguish and feelings and emotions and turmoil ever so well. His characters are deeply complex, and so is their story. Again, one of my absolute favorite modern classics of all times, Giovanni's Room by James Baldwin. And with the next book, you might not agree. This is a book that the majority of people will hate. This is a book that most people DNF not even halfway through it. And this is a book that I loved. It is the 100 Years of Solitude by Gabriel Garcia Marquez. And this book is a chronicle. It is the story of the Buendia family, all through the different generations and their almost hereditary love or desire to be left alone, the desire for solitude, opposed with the need for being loved and human contact. And this is a story of the insanity that runs through the family, and this is magical realism at its pinnacle. And yes, I do get why many people do not like this book. This is almost a workout for the brain. I had this self-made huge genealogy chart above my desk just to make sure that I got which character he was talking about and whom was related to whom in what fashion. And yes, this book is complicated, but it is also ever so beautiful. Gabriel Garcia Marquez's writing is beautiful. It is rich, it is lustrous, it is colorful. It is almost poetry made into prose. There is a dark sense of humor running through this book, and the magical realism elements do get strange at times. For me, 100 Years of Solitude is a special book. It is the Ulysses that I did finish, and it is the Ulysses that I did enjoy. It is a hallmark of magical realism, it is an excellent example of symbolism, it is a lot. There is a lot to take away from this book if you just take the time and the effort. I Will Die on This Hill, 100 Years of Solitude by Gabriel Garcia Marquez. And then we're back into contemporary territory with Circe by Madeline Miller. Stop your whining about the Song of Achilles already. And this one is better. Period. I'm going to get in trouble again. Circe is the story of a lesser deity, Circe. While her godly parents are ever so beautiful, powerful, respected, she is not. When she is exiled to an island all by herself, this punishment becomes a blessing, a boon, because now she is granted the space and the time to become her own woman, to become herself. Still, now she has become Circe, she is living in this isolated bubble, this very protected island away from the outside world. And that is until visitors start arriving on the island. And these visitors remind her that the outside world can be both cruel and kind. Yes, this is a Greek mythological retelling, but I think even if you're not interested or knowledgeable about it, you can still read and enjoy this book. And again, a lot is said about this book. Some say it is a very feminist book, others talk about mental illness when they read about it. There is a lot to take away from this. But what struck me most is the language. Madeline Miller's language in this book is gorgeous. This book contains the kind of sentences that you read and then read again and almost savor them like they are a good wine. The language slows your reading down just to take a slower pace and enjoy and take in everything that is written on paper. Madeline Miller is a poet. It is the book that got me into BookTube, so she's the one to blame. Circe by Madeline Miller, one of the best books I read in the last few years. And then the last book for today is up there. Imagine reading Lord of the Rings again for the first time. I think I was 12, maybe 13 when I first read Lord of the Rings, and it opened a whole new world for me. It introduced me to this fantasy genre, and for the next few years I read nothing but fantasy. Lord of the Rings introduced me to Hobb, Le Guin, Williams, Pratchett, all of these big and wonderful names in the fantasy genre. It was a portal and a stepping stone into a world that I did not know before. My 12-year-old me absolutely lived this book. This was my getaway. It got me through difficult times at school. Whatever went wrong, this book was my safe place. At an age where I was stuck between middle grade and YA, this book was everything I needed. I'm now reading it to my 11-year-old son and I'm reliving it all again, so this is a beautiful, beautiful way to finish this list. The Lord of the Rings by J.R.R. Tolkien. And now I want to hear from you. Let me know down below in the comments which book you would absolutely love to read for the first time again. Let me know and we'll talk excellent books some more. That's it for me for this week. Leave a like, leave a comment, you know how it goes. And if you need some more excellent book recommendations, then why not go here?